Hey, I grew up in a tradition where we sang hymns all the time. I went to a college where we sang hymns for chapel every day that we gathered. So there are a few hymns I don't know well enough to sing without the hymn book. But one of those old songs is a song I dearly love called Come Thou Fount. And along about the third verse it says, "Here I raise my Ebenezer, and hither by thy help I've come, and I hope by thy good pleasure to safely arrive at home." And I sang that song for years without knowing what an Ebenezer is. Do you know what an Ebenezer is? An Ebenezer is a memorial. In particular, it's a stacking of stones. And the people of God are known to do this. In fact, Jewish people to this day still put Ebenezers on the headstone of their loved ones in cemeteries instead of flowers, because it's an Ebenezer. It's a reminder of what they shared, their love for each other. Well, you see this throughout Scripture too. Like after 40 years of wandering in the wilderness, and the people finally cross the Jordan River, God does a miracle, and Joshua tells them, go to the center of the river and take 12 stones and let's stack them here along the banks, because one day you're going to come back here with your children and their children, your children's children, and when you come to this standing of stones, I want you to remember what God did. So Ebenezers are those places in our life that we have kind of memorialized. We've created a remembrance, a trigger, if you will, that takes us back to what God did to encourage us in our walk with God today. Now, it's not to say to live in the past. We don't want to do that, but Ebenezers are important. They're important milestones in our walk with God and our development of our faith. I have an Ebenezer I go back to a lot. When we started Springcreek, we started in high school. We're there for a couple of years, moved to a strip mall location. We're there for about 10 or 11 years. We're just absolutely outgrown it. We're in 4 services. We needed a place of our own, and there was a Food Line grocery store available, and we bought it. It was $2.5 million. It was going to take another $1.5 million just to finish it out. Now you got to understand something. I came from a small church with a small budget, and $4 million is more money than I could imagine. It was crazy money to me. But we were able, through a bond program, to lend ourselves the money to do all this. But I was feeling the pressure of it all, that this was so much money, how we were going to repay it. And I had the keys to the unfinished Food Line building. I walked in the building, and I'm just walking around the building, and I'm praying. But I'm not praying, I'm pleading with God. I'm telling God, what have I gotten this church into? I mean, how are we ever going to pay for this? I was so anxious. And God said to me, as clearly as he's ever said anything, just match my pace. Just match my pace. And that was my word. That was what I needed, because I knew then that I was off in the future, trying to solve tomorrow's problems with today's resources, and I was failing big time. And I also didn't need to lag behind where God was leading. I just need to stay in lockstep with him. And if I matched God's pace, he'd be with me every step of the way. That's my Ebenezer. I go back to it a lot to remember that I need to just be with God in this present moment. So what's your Ebenezer? What are those places, those memorials you've created in your heart that you can go back to and remind yourself that God is with you? He's done incredible things in the past. He's going to do more incredible things in the future. Today, think through those milestones in your life and go back and remember that who God was is who he is today and who he's always going to be. God bless you. See you again real soon.